Who is Director Krennic? Before we get started into the video, I'm trying to reach 10 subscribers, so if you guys could hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment down below, it would be much appreciated. Let's get into the video. Orson Callan Krennic, Director of the Imperial Military Department of Advanced Weapons Research. He belonged to the Imperial Intelligence and Imperial Security Bureau. He was born on the planet Rouge, which is a mid-ram planet during the Age of the Republic, and that planet is a heavy industrialized planet. Of course, as we know from the events of Rogue One, he creates the Death Star using kyber crystal kinetic energy, which he kind of stole from Galen Erso, who was working on some of the kyber crystal kinetic energy research projects. Of course, Galen Erso wanted to use it more for humanitarian processes for the Republic, which is interesting because I'm currently reading Light of the Jedi, and the Chancellor Lina So talks about how they want to have tons of humanitarian efforts and not efforts of war, but during the time of the Death Star being built, both sides feared that they would build the weapon, which is an interesting kind of historical time point of when Star Wars was made in the 1970s, and that both sides fear that they're building a weapon of mass destruction, correlation to nuclear warfare, and how the Empire could be correlated to the Soviet Union at the time. Just an interesting little tidbit in history and kind of connecting Star Wars with real life. But they both ended up working for the Empire, both Galen and Krennic. Of course, Krennic kind of forces him into the Empire because he knows without Galen he won't be able to complete the Death Star project on time, if at all. Not much is known about Krennic. Of course, what we know about him is in Star Wars Rogue One and the Rogue One Catalyst novel. And one of the more interesting things that I think comes out of that novel, I've not read it, but of course I go on the Star Wars wiki, and it says that he meets Poggle the Lesser, who is the leader of the Geonosians, to talk about Death Star production in terms of using the Geonosians for hive construction and for labor as well. And also, if you kind of correlate again, that the Geonosians are also building the droid army prior to the events of Episode 2. So it's kind of interesting that he uses the Geonosians. I think that's an interesting tidbit in Star Wars history. Again, not much is known about Krennic. He is, I would say, mid to high level inside of the Imperial hierarchy. Of course, he's always a shadow to Grand Moff Tarkin, and he dies on Scarif to his own weapon, fittingly. Krennic is definitely a character that I would like to see expanded in maybe a novel about Imperial military structure or something about Imperial life. I would like to see Krennic kind of shown a little bit in that facet, or showing the hierarchies through the Imperial ranks. And also, I completely expect Krennic to be shown in Star Wars The Bad Batch, as that TV show shows the transition of the Republic to the Empire, and I presume they'll involve Krennic in that because he is a notable character, alongside some other notable characters in terms of the switch between the Republic and the Empire. By the way, also very excited for the Star Wars Bad Batch. I'll get into that in a different video, of course, but that's where I could see this character being expanded. I think he dies perfectly. I think he's the perfect character for a Rogue One villain. He's intimidating, but not too intimidating. Like, he's a known person in the Imperial ranks, but again, he's like mid-high level, so he doesn't have a lot of status, but to certain people he has status. And that's kind of what we know about Director Krennic. Not much more can be said until we figure out more about him, or in my eyes, not much more is interesting about Director Krennic. He does, of course, meet with Darth Vader at Vader's castle on Mustafar, which is a good scene in Rogue One, but that's Director Krennic, and until next video, goodbye.